Imagine this. You're standing somewhere thousands of years ago. No Wi-Fi, no smartphones, no one arguing in the comments section about things they read 3 seconds ago. Just the sky. A massive, silent, impossible sky. And above you, millions of stars. No light pollution, no distractions. No, I'll just check one more thing before bed. Just you and the universe. Now here's the strange part. People back then looked at that sky every single night. Not for a minute, not for a quick Instagram story, for hours, for years, for generations. So let's ask a slightly uncomfortable question. What if ancient civilizations understood something about the universe that we don't? Not better technology, not better science, but something else. Something we lost while upgrading everything else. Now, before we go full ancient aliens built everything, relax. We're not doing that. We're staying grounded, mostly. Let's start with something simple. Ancient people were obsessed with patterns. Not in a "that wallpaper is nice" kind of way. In a "if we don't understand this pattern, we might die" kind of way. They watched the sun, they watched the moon, they tracked the stars. And over time, they noticed something very strange. The universe is not random. It moves in cycles, day and night, seasons, lunar phases, planetary motion. Everything repeats, everything returns. And when you stare at something long enough, you start to feel like it's not just moving, it's organized, almost like it follows rules. Now fast forward a few thousand years. We invent physics, we discover laws, gravity, motion, thermodynamics, and we go, wow, the universe follows rules. Ancient humans, somewhere in the past, yeah, we noticed. But here's where it gets interesting. They didn't just see patterns, they felt connected to them. For them, the universe wasn't something out there. It was something they were inside of, a system they belonged to, a rhythm they were part of. Today, we look at the universe like, cool, very big, very far away, back to emails. Back then, it was more like, if the stars move like this, what does that mean for us? Now, were they always right? Absolutely not. They thought a lot of things that were, let's say, creatively incorrect. Sort of like this, or like this. But the mindset, that's where things get interesting. Because ancient civilizations didn't separate science, philosophy, and meaning. To them, understanding the universe was not just about how it works. It was about what it means. And we kind of stopped asking that second question. Now we're like, how does a black hole work? Great question. Important question. But we rarely follow it with, and what does that mean for us as conscious beings existing in it? Because that question is uncomfortable. It doesn't have a clean answer, and it doesn't fit in the 10-second clip. But ancient people lived inside that question, all the time. Now let's talk about something even stranger, time. Ancient civilizations didn't think of time the way we do. For us, time is linear, past to present to future, like a to-do list that never ends. For them, time was cyclical. Everything comes back, everything repeats. Birth, death, rebirth, seasons, civilizations, stars. And here's the twist. Modern science is starting to kind of agree, not in a mystical way, but in a the universe might actually loop, recycle, or behave in cycles kind of way. Which is funny, because we spent centuries thinking those ancient people and their cycles, how primitive. And now we're like, wait, now let's go deeper. Ancient structures, pyramids, temples, megaliths. We look at them and think, wow, impressive engineering, which is fair. But also, why are so many of them aligned with stars? Why do certain structures match celestial events with almost ridiculous precision? Solstices, equinoxes, planetary alignments. It's like they were building giant reminders, or maybe giant questions, or maybe both. Now, to be clear, they weren't calculating quantum mechanics. They weren't writing equations about dark matter, but they were doing something we rarely do anymore. They were paying attention. Deep, obsessive, slightly intense attention. And when you pay attention long enough, patterns become obvious. Connections start appearing. And eventually, you start asking dangerous questions, like, what if we're not separate from the universe? What if we are part of the same system we're observing? Now pause, because that idea, that's not ancient anymore. That's actually very modern. Physics, philosophy, consciousness research, they're all slowly circling around this same uncomfortable thought. The observer and the observed might not be as separate as we think, which is a very complicated way of saying you're not just watching the universe, you are part of what's happening. Ancient humans didn't need complex language to say that. They just lived it. Now let's add a bit of humor before this gets too existential. Imagine explaining modern life to an ancient person. You wake up, stare at a glowing rectangle, ignore the sky, stress about emails, and occasionally wonder about the meaning of life between scrolling. Ancient person. You ignore the sky? Yes. Ancient person. And you think you understand the universe better? Okay, that sounds bad when you say it like that. And this is where things get interesting again, because knowledge isn't just about information, it's about attention. Ancient civilizations had less information, but they had more attention. We have infinite information, but almost no attention. And guess which one is required to actually understand something? Exactly. Now let's go even deeper. Ancient people often described the universe as something alive. Not literally like it has a heartbeat and goes to the gym, but alive in the sense that it's dynamic, connected, constantly changing. Modern science describes the universe as expanding, evolving, interacting, self-organizing, which is not that different, just with better vocabulary and fewer poetic metaphors. So maybe they weren't completely wrong. Maybe they were just describing the same reality in a different language. Now, here's the twist. We like to think of progress as a straight line. We were wrong to now we're right. But what if it's more like this? We were intuitive, then analytical, and now we're trying to combine both. Ancient civilizations had intuition. We have analysis. The future? Probably both, because pure intuition leads to myths. Pure analysis leads to spreadsheets about the universe. and neither is complete on its own. Now let's bring this all together. What might ancient civilizations have known? Not equations, not particle physics, not the exact structure of space-time, but maybe they understood something just as important. That the universe is not just something to measure, it's something to experience. That observation matters, that attention matters, that being part of the system changes how you understand it. And maybe, just maybe, they were less distracted, which, ironically, might have made them more aware. Now, this doesn't mean we should go back and live in caves. Let's keep Wi-Fi. That's a good invention. But maybe, just maybe, we can borrow something from them. Not their conclusions, but their approach. Look up more, question more, pay attention longer than 5 seconds, and occasionally ask, do I actually understand this? Or am I just used to it? Because the universe is still just as strange as it was back then. We just got better at pretending it's normal. And maybe the biggest difference between us and ancient civilizations isn't intelligence, it's perspective. They stood under the stars and felt small, but connected. We look at the same stars and feel busy. And somewhere between those two states, there's probably a better way to experience reality. Not less intelligent, not less scientific, just more aware, and maybe a little less distracted by glowing rectangles. Although, to be fair, you're watching this on one right now. So let's not get too judgmental. The point is not that they knew everything. They didn't, and neither do we. The point is that they asked different questions, and sometimes the quality of your questions matters more than the quantity of your answers. So next time you look at the sky, not quickly, not while multitasking, but really look. Remember, you're seeing the same universe they saw, the same stars, the same mystery. The only difference is how much attention you're willing to give it. And that might change everything. Or, at least, it might make you forget to check your phone for a few minutes, which, in today's world, is basically a spiritual experience.